besides becoming your own banker, what are some other good IBC books? So that's a great question. Not in any particular order. I would say A Case for IBC, warehousing, not warehouse,
building your warehouse of wealth.
Building your warehouse of wealth, easy for me to say. How privatized banking really works. I think if you're using it for debt, Dwayne Burnell's books, Financial Freedom in the 21st Century is a good book for debt.
Well, you think about like if you're Austrian economic minded, if you're trying to understand like a little bit of inner workings of the financial system, how privatized banking really works is a great tool. It kind of depends on your interest, right?
Yeah.
If you kind of get to the point type of person, The Case for IBC is a great tool. I always say my mom's favorite of all the books was Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. It wasn't a technical book to read. It was a little more abstract, right? And Nelson talks. You get a Bible lesson in there too, and some history lessons of the world in there. These aren't IBC books, but what's more important, Jim? Right? Like, is it the policy or is it our behavior? Well, of course, it's our behavior, right? So people bring up Rich Dad Poor Dad all the time. It's not an IBC book, but it's about going and playing that game. So you take Rich Dad Poor Dad, play the game cash flow. If you want to sit and you don't want to read a book, if you got kids under 10 or 12, get Cash Flow for Kids. If you got kids over that age and adults, people might look at it and see a board game that costs $90 or whatever, but I guarantee you it's better than any financial course you'll ever pay for, at some university or whatnot. Right. It's phenomenal.
I think it's the best $100 or less. I think it's a little bit less than $100. The best $100 you could spend on teaching yourself and your children about money and how money works and what the goal is. There's other, one of the books I think is just overlooked, and it's one of Kiyosaki's books. And I think it has the worst title of any book that I could imagine him putting together. And it's Second Chance. So people think, well, to read that book, I need a second chance, but it's such a good book, and it in the Audible version of it is very good as well. But it goes through a lot of information. So a lot of Cash Flow Quadrant, a lot of Rich Dad Poor Dad, a lot of the different books that he's written, and it touches on these different concepts. And there's a little bit of the book that's a little bit out there, like, but it's so good. I mean, it's so worth it. And I even think that a basic book like The Richest Man in Babylon, just it to me, like, people think that the book The Richest Man in Babylon, the message is, pay yourself first. Okay, I get that. Save 10% of everything that you earn. But it's, what the biggest message to me in that book is, Nick, is you can't do what everybody else is doing. So they're sitting on this hill, and there's him and his friends are like, hey, we've all made about the same amount of money. We're all about the same age, but yet you're so far ahead of us. What did you do? Or what do you know that we don't know? And he kind of goes through the tenets of what he learned or what he knew to become the richest man in Babylon. And I like that he was different. And then another thing that he says is invest in what you know.